Alright, so let's solve the strong password problem on HackerRank. What this question asks us to do is to return the minimum number of characters required in order to make a given password strong. So with a given string password and its length, this is what's given to us. We need to return the minimum number of characters to make this password strong. And the way a password is considered strong is if it meets all these requirements, which means it has to be at least 6 characters in length, contain at least one digit, one lowercase letter, one uppercase letter, and at least one of these special characters. Now, bear with me a little. I'm going to try to explain as I go along instead of explaining from the beginning. It'll make sense as we go on. So what we're gonna do first is we're going to create an integer counter. So every time we scan through the password, we're gonna check these requirements. If they are not met, we're going to increment this counter, and just keep that in mind for later. So first, we're gonna create an integer counter, and obviously it begins at 0, and every time a condition isn't met, we're gonna increment it. So now we need to check if a condition is met or not. So the way we're gonna do this is with the following code. If password does not match the following, um, and then we need to include, let's begin with the number condition. Then we're going to counter plus plus. And this is matches, not match. Alright, so what we're saying here, basically, if our password does not contain a single number between 0 and 9, just if it doesn't contain one digit between 0 and 9, then increment our counter. But more accurately, what password.matches does is, for example, let's say my password in the given, the user that he inputted, is ABC. Okay? If I put here ABC, then it should return true. Otherwise, it's going to return false. Now, what this does, if you notice, we have a dot and then a star and then brackets, a dash, and then star and dot. What star and dot means, these are wildcards. And what we're saying is essentially any number of any characters can come before this digit. We don't really care, right? So it could be a digit here, it could be a letter, it could be a character. We don't care. We want to make sure that a digit between 0 and 9 is found within the string password. So we don't care what the password begins with. We don't care what the password ends with, as long as there is a single digit between 0 and 9 within the password. We're good. If there isn't, then increment our counter. And we're gonna follow this for the rest of the requirements. So I'm just gonna copy this, and then so what we're gonna check here is the lowercase letters. Once again, we don't care what comes in the beginning, we don't care what comes in the end, as long as our password contains at least one lowercase letter between A to Z. If it doesn't, counter plus plus. And then once again, we're going to do uppercase letters A to Z. If it doesn't, counter plus plus. And finally, the special characters requirement. Now, for the other requirements, it's a range of values, 0 to 9. But here, obviously, you can't have a range with special characters, so you just input it as is. And just make sure your dash is in the end, because you don't want Java to interpret it as a range like the other values. So counter plus plus, counter plus plus. And then finally, there's one more condition we need to check, I believe. So we met the digit one, the lowercase letter one, the uppercase letter one. Yeah. So there's one more we need to check, and that's the length. Now this is where it gets a bit tricky. So before I do that, let's say we had this example. Let's say our password was AB1, right? Or let's say lowercase AB1. If we go through our counter, what's missing? We have an uppercase letter, perfect. We have a lowercase letter, perfect. We have a number. We're missing a special character, so our counter is going to be equal to 1. However, we're also missing 3 additional characters, right? Because it has to be at least 6 in length, and currently it's 3. 6 minus 3 is 3. So what should we return? Should we return 1 or should we return 3? Obviously, we need to return 3. And we need to account for the special character within the 3. We just need to make sure that the special character is included within the missing length. If we had another example, for example, A, B, C, D, E1, our length is 6, which is perfect. But what are we missing? An uppercase letter and a special case character. So once we go through all this, our counter is going to be equal to 2, and length is going to be equal to 0. So what should we return, 0 or 2? We need to return 2 because that's all that's left for the password to be considered strong. So the way we're going to do that is, finally, after we get our counter, we're going to return math.max, our counter, and 6 minus n. Whichever the larger value is, that's what we're going to return, and we're going to be satisfied with the condition. So for example, if our password was 2 characters in length, and our counter, or sorry, if our length of the password was 2, our password was 2 characters in length, and some of the special characters, let's say these 2 special characters, let's say of those 2 characters within our length, these are the 2 characters, a digit and a lowercase letter. Our counter is going to be 2 because we're missing an uppercase letter and a special character. But we're also missing 4 characters in length, so we're going to be returning the maximum between 6 minus 2, which is 4, and our counter, which is 2, which is 4. And this way we account for every case, every possible case. So let's submit and see if it works. There we go. So yeah, I hope you guys found that helpful. Just make sure for this one you put the dash in the end so Java doesn't interpret it as a range. Thank you for watching.